What's going on, guys? Keegan here from Punisher's Paintball. I'm here with Joel. Today we're doing a overview of the MacDev XDR with the mechanical frame.
If you guys like this video, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you guys are interested in one of these, we do have a few in stock. Head on over to the website to pick it up today. Alright guys, so here we have the MacDev XDR. We have, I've got the blue, and Keegan?
I got the red.
Alright, so the XDR is basically MacDev's attempt at a mid-level gun. So I was a big fan of the Prime XTS last year. I thought it was a high-end contender. Not a lot of people were talking about it. This marker comes in at $850 for the electronic frame, and then an extra additional $200 for the mech frame. We're going to do a quick unboxing video for you guys, kind of walk you through what's included with the XDR. We're also going to do a shooting video to show you guys what this gun's all about. There's been a lot of, I would say, discrepancy on publicity when it comes to the XDR. It was released months ago, and we're just finally getting our guns. But needless to say, I think a lot of people are looking for that shooting video, so that's what we're here for. So Keegan, you want to start with the unboxing portion?
Yeah, we'll start with the electronic frame.
Sounds good.
So, I believe every MacDev that I've seen comes in kind of just this cardboard box.
Yeah, it's pretty disposable, let's put it that way.
This isn't like the Planet ones. Just go ahead and throw this away.
Yeah.
But it's got like their logo and stuff on it. This case, actually, I can't tell if I like it or I don't like it. I'm used to the Planet case that are a bit bigger, not as wide.
Keegan's biased.
But it is fairly nice for me.
Okay, so here's what I'll say. It's $850.
Yeah.
Right? So we got to keep that in mind. I would say it's not bad. It reminds me a lot of the Exalt carbon case, right? As far as the exterior goes, or the HKXO case. Needless to say, it's going to do what it's meant to do. Yeah. I like the fact that they did print that MacDev XDR, and I think it's a pretty sharp logo. With that said, you know, but and it's thin. Yeah. That's the other thing that I noticed. It's much thinner than like a shocker case or, you know, like anything else like that. Like, so in this price range, you're talking about the shocker amp, you're talking about the G-Tech 170R,
yep,
and you're talking about the Dye DSR in this price range, right? This is interesting because it comes in a little bit less. So with that considered, I think it's not a bad case.
Yeah. The one thing I will say, the reason it is thinner is they put the barrels off the side here rather than stacking them on top of the gun, which is kind of nice. So first, open it up, you got your manual. This is, let's see, that's actually pretty detailed. I'll give them that. Like, they have some good drafts in here that show you a lot. So
it's very similar. So I'll say this: it's the closest that you're going to get to a Planet manual. It's definitely not.
You can't beat the Planet manuals.
Okay, all right, calm down. It's definitely not a Planet manual. I will say that, but I like the fact that it's paper. I like the fact that you don't need a freaking computer to plug it in and all that stuff, or you have to do a Google search to figure out what L-ring you need or whatever. It's going to be right there in the case.
Yeah. All right, so getting on to the rest of the stuff it just comes with. You got your charging cable. This gun is actually has a rechargeable battery inside of it. It does not take a 9-volt, which is kind of a surprising change for their lower-end marker.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting, and we can talk a little bit about the port here in a second. But needless to say, you know, some people like it, some people don't. I personally don't, because if your gun goes down in the middle of the day. Now, here's what I will say. It is USB-C, right? So, like, it's going to be super simple to find a cord at a gas station or something. That was my biggest beef with the older Lux markers. I'm glad that MacDev decided to go something universal in case, you know, like in case you do run out at the field and you need to charge your gun, you can run up to the gas station, get one of these cords, or maybe have one in your car if you're a Droid user, and very simply plug it in, charge your MacDev, and be on the way. So
you get just a small 10. I don't know what measurement that is.
It's a small thing of lube.
Yeah, small thing of lube, of their militia lube. You get 3 Allen keys. I will say they kept true to their longer Allen keys, which I like.
Super nice, and they're like that stainless material, right?
Yep.
So like it's not like the newer Planet guns come with like this like weird.
Yeah, it's almost like powder coated.
Yeah, right.
It's weird.
Right, and that's only with their 170Rs and stuff like that. So.
You get just a small parts kit, got 2 extra detents, some O-rings, a bolt tip actually, 1 frame screw it looks like, and some O-rings. So that's pretty basic. I do like that they include a size charting for the O-rings, which is 100%. Nice.
I like the fact that there's an extra bolt tip.
Yep.
The detents look actually very similar to like Planet Eclipse detents, which is kind of interesting. 2 extra detents is basically all you're going to need. So it's definitely not like a very elaborate parts kit, but it's going to have everything that you need to kind of rebuild the gun once. So like, after maybe a year's worth of play and everything else like that. So
yeah.
All right, Keegan.
Barrel cover, of course, just a general MacDev barrel cover.
All right, impressions. You've already picked it up this afternoon in the store.
Yep.
I was a shooter of the Prime XTS last year. So there's my level of bias. You've got some issues with it.
I do.
Okay.
First thing I noticed picking up the gun, Joel actually didn't necessarily notice it because he holds the gun differently, is I pick up my gun and I hold it very close up to here. And I can't really hit that trigger from up here because they lowered it, and the actual screw point where it hinges is like further down here. So it's like almost halfway through the grip frame that you're not able to use all this, and you have to hold it lower. I'm not huge on that. There isn't a lot of trigger space. I mean, even my smaller hands isn't able to like completely hold the trigger only. Other thing that I think we're both skeptical on is the charging port.
Let's see if maybe we can get that to focus.
Yeah, maybe. So the charging port, it's just, what would you compare this to? A lot of like older stuff has it, where it's just this like rubber piece that covers it.
Yeah, so it's just like a little thin rubber piece. So it's like definitely not as thick of a quality as like the Diam 3 Plus that uses a rechargeable battery as well.
That one also kind of like snaps into place.
Correct.
Versus this one is just a little rubber piece that you can literally just flick to the side.
Yep. So I definitely could see issues when you're playing with it of that going like this or whatever the case may be. It's very simple to kind of just pop this out of place, and all of a sudden you've got an issue. After a little bit of wear and tear, that's probably going to come off. Now, with that said, I don't know how many times, like even as you as a front player, like you're diving in, how often does the back of your trigger frame get dirty? I guess it's possible. You take a dive in like a puddle or something, it could be an issue.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. So with time, we'll be able to tell whether or not the board is waterproof and is going to be able to endure that. So as far as the trigger goes, I get what you're saying, Keegan. Very weird design in the fact that it is very low as where the trigger starts, the top of the trigger starts. It is a deuce trigger, it's aluminum. It looks like there's 4 different adjustment tools on it. So you're going to be able to do post-travel, pre-travel, strength, and all that good stuff, which is nice. It comes with the same grips as the Prime XTS, which I think is definitely nice.
Yeah.
MacDev spends a lot of time with their grips, as you guys have already probably heard me say that, so I won't go on a rant about that. But some things that... So I get what you're saying about that. I could see it being an issue. I personally hold my trigger frame really low, and usually when I'm pulling the trigger, I'm only pulling with my lower trigger. So like for me, it's not necessarily as big of an issue. I also noticed when I put tank on the red one that my hands, even when I was holding it with my hands, I was towards the lower part of the trigger frame. So I personally don't see it as big of a deal as you do.
Yeah.
But that's to each its own.
Yeah, I tuck my hand up high into my guns. Right. So, I mean, here...
Could be I would assume that it has maybe something to do with the mechanical placement of their neck frame. Some other things to note with the XDR. So the XDR features an infinity drive. It is mech capable. So there's your infinity drive, your soft tip bolt. It's going to be a lower operating pressure. The efficiency on it's supposed to be relatively decent, with a lower operating pressure and all that good stuff. Some things that they didn't carry over from the XDR, from the Prime XTS, that makes the XTS still a better feature is you need Allen screws to access your eyes.
Yep.
This portion here is still adjustable, both 8-degree slant as well as vertical, which is nice. So it's the exact same as the Prime XTS. The electronics are different. I don't know if you noticed that, Keegan.
I did not.
So the electronics, turn the gun on, you can see it's all white. The XTS actually has a colored board.
That's
right. And as far as tunability and all that stuff, I'm not exactly sure when it comes to that.
Seems to be all the same.
Yeah. Keegan, you mentioned something about the buttons.
So one of the things I noticed is I was just kind of holding it in my hand and the gun came on, and I was like, did I just hold the button down? But no, the button, you got 2 on the back, and if you just tap the top one, the gun will actually come on. And then I immediately went to seeing if you tap it, will the gun go off? Because that would be a pretty big issue.
That would be a huge design flaw.
Yeah, it would be like the original Luxes where you grip the back of it and you'd be turning your gun on and off. But no, you do actually have to hold it down for it to turn off, which I don't see that being an issue all too much.
And something to mention too is if you look at the trigger frame, the buttons are inset inside the trigger frame. So like you're really going to have to be like gripping down on this thing to... but yeah, as far as turning on, you could definitely accidentally turn it on and burn your battery. Because the buttons are actually like really easy to turn on and turn off as well. Like it's I think it's not bad, but I will say this: like, I could definitely see that becoming an issue.
Yeah.
So.
Seems like the bottom one hold to turn off the eyes, so that's what the bottom one's there for.
Yep. As far as programming features, you're gonna pull the trigger, you're gonna turn the gun on. You're going to hold for setup, and then it's going to walk you through all the different bells and whistles of the gun. Very similar to tuning as far as the Prime XTS goes. It's just not colored. Rechargeable battery, which is, in my personal opinion, a good feature. And then the ASA is the old screw ASA of the Clone 5. And it looks like, from the naked eye at least, that the inline regulator is the same as the Prime XTS. So it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the Prime XTS. Offer a much better price. I think it's not a bad option for $850. Me personally. Keegan, what's your opinion? Honest opinion.
For $850, I would rather be shooting a shocker.
Okay.
I'd rather pick up a shocker amp. I think it feels better in my hands. It's also lighter than this, and the barrel system is much better. That's one thing that I didn't bring up was the barrel system is different, and I wasn't huge on how they made it so that the tip attaches. Most of the time you're going to be having a little bit extra material that actually feed into the barrel before the threading. However, on this barrel you do not, and so it's kind of hard to line up. So I could start screwing it in this way and just destroy the threads. So you have to be very careful to...
It's also reverse thread.
Yeah, it is also reverse thread. You have to be very careful not to destroy your threads. And so for everything taken into account, personally, I'd rather be shooting a shocker amp.
Okay.
For around that price point, I'd rather spend the extra $50, get the freak barrel, get the...
What about the 170R
platform.
Or the DSR?
DSR I've actually never owned. No, I've shot them before, haven't played with them. So I can't speak too heavily on that. The 170, I think is a great gun. I mean, it's just a modified version of the Gamma Pro Bolt that's in my CS2. That's one of my favorite guns made. However, the grips are very large and don't fit my hands on the 170. So could I see myself possibly playing with this over a 170? Maybe.
Okay.
I'd have to play with one first. I like to play with the gun before I finally am like, I'll take it. So
really what you're saying is like the only gun that you'd probably choose over this without shooting it and running it through the riggers is for sure the shocker amp.
For sure the shocker amp, possibly the 170. And I just have to play with the DSR.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I know for me as a big guy, I personally love the Prime XTS, and this is very similar because it was so spread out.
yeah,
With that said, ergonomically, I thought my snapshot was never better than when I had my Prime. The Prime also shot very, very straight, never really shot any curveballs or anything else like that. So with that said, ergonomically, I really like this gun. The features on it, rechargeable battery is nice, so you don't have to
It is.
with the shocker amp. That's the biggest problem with the shocker amp is that it's literally nothing is toolless, where like the 170 is toolless for the eye covers and all that good stuff. So this is kind of like in between for me. Ergonomically, I really like how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit heavier. I personally like that. It's definitely more spread out. So if you're a bigger guy, you might be a little bit more prone to liking this gun because of the fact that it's so elongated. I think that overall, like just looking at the gun, quality control looks actually pretty decent. My only issue is that, like you said, the barrel's bad. There's just no other way of saying it.
yeah,
It looks cheap, but I will say this: like, I personally think that the shaft barrel on the Planar Eclipse gun looks kind of cheap too.
I agree with that.
So like, there's that portion.
Yeah.
Like the other guns out on the market are comparable.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely say that. So with that said, why don't we go shoot it?
yeah.
All right, guys, so here we are. This is the XDR with the electronic frame. We're going to give it a full hopper, a 3-star, see how she does. Got a chrono here as well. And I'm curious to see how this thing does, Keegan. All right, so first shot, 271. Second shot, 271. Third shot, 264, 273, 304, 273. So pretty good, that one outlier. I will say this, I think it shoots smoother than my Prime XTS already. So here we go. It's on semi, I just realized that. All right, so there you guys have it. Didn't chop any paint, which was nice. Relatively smooth. I will say it's a little bit louder, but other than that, smooth shot. I really like this thing so far, but I also like the MacDev Prime XTS. Keegan, what did you think when you shot it?
Definitely thought it was smoother than your XTS, which is kind of surprising. That could be due to the changes that they made to make it mech capable, but still not a fan of the trigger. So overall, for 850, pretty decent buy. Still think I'd shoot a shocker amp over it, but for 850, if you're wanting a MacDev, I definitely think that this is a good one to go with.